What's up guys, my name is Liam and today we're going to be doing the ultimate gaming mouse tier list. I'm not just going to rank every single mouse that I've used out there. This is going to be a little bit different. What I'm going to do is I'm going to truly give you guys my genuine, honest opinions on some of my favorite top gaming mice. And just to be clear, out of all these mice, I have used all of these mice. These aren't just mice that I've just tested out just for a short time and then never used them again. Pretty much just about every single mouse on this list I have used quite a bit. I've messed around with for quite some time, and I truly feel confident enough to sit here today and tell you my truthful and honest opinions on these mice. So just a quick disclaimer, with that being said, all of these mice on here, have the possibility to be S tier category. So if you do see me picking a mouse that should be S tier category, and I'm not putting an S tier category, again, that's just purely because of the fact that either I've had some type of issues with the mouse, or the mouse is just not personally working out for me the way that I need it to perform in my gameplay style. All right, so starting out here, we have the Asus ROG Harpe Ace. And though this is an S tier category mouse, honestly, the performance of this mouse is phenomenal. I didn't have any issues with it. It worked perfectly for me. Unfortunately, I'm going to have to go ahead and drop it down to the A tier list. And the reason being is, for me personally, this mouse was just a little bit on the longer side. I truly don't have any issues with the shape or anything like that. I just kind of wish that they made the mouse a little bit shorter. And personally, with the way that I was gripping the mouse, I just kind of felt like the sensor placement on the mouse was just a little bit low. So with that being said, I'm gonna have to drop this down to the A category just because I'm gonna have to make room for that S tier for some of my top favorite mice. All right, and next up, we got the Cooler Master MM712. And I truly love this mouse. I use this mouse for quite a bit. I love the shape. I'm a huge fan of it. Unfortunately, I felt like it fell a little bit short with the side buttons. With my copy, I was having a ton of issues with the rear back side button, and it honestly felt like it was going to fall on the mouse lots of times. And though I love the fact they put optical switches in the mouse, it feels great. It does kind of have that high sensor as well, so it does give you a little bit of a unique experience, something that you kind of have to adjust and get used to. So with that being said, let's go ahead and drop it down in the B category. Still a great mouse. I love gaming with it, but we're going to go ahead and drop it right there. All right, and then next up, we have the Endgame Gear XM2WE. And this mouse for me was so close. It was so close to becoming S tier. I love the mouse. It performs great in play. My issue, however, I'm not sure if I haven't really seen anybody else have the issue that I'm having, but my mouse is tensioned so tightly that the right click button on my mouse is so much harder to press in than the left click button. And in fact, when gaming with this mouse, I don't notice too many issues. However, when I'm using this mouse just to browse my desktop or to edit videos or anything like that, the buttons are so tight that I find myself misclicking, missing, trying to click on an icon or anything like that. And, I just got really frustrated with it. I was hoping it was going to break in and wear it over time and become easier, but, it just never happened. It wasn't the case. So I did pre-order the Endgame Gear, the XM2, not the WE, just the XM2, I believe it is. I'm really hoping that the clicks on that version are going to be a lot easier to press, and hopefully I'll have a much better time with that version of the mouse compared to my copy. So next up, when it comes to the Fantech Aria, the XD7, I truly love this mouse. I'm gonna drop this up in the S tier class. Reason being is I was such a fan of the Razer Orochi, and I was hoping that Razer would come out with a more pro version. And when I saw that Fantech took a risk and they were putting out a similar egg-shaped mouse, it is just a little bit larger than the Orochi. However, when it comes to egg-shaped mice, nobody has really taken the leap. Fantech was the first company to do this when it came to trying to make it like a professional grade gaming mouse, and you got to give them respect for that. Fantech as a company as a whole, I've talked to them. They're incredibly enthusiastic, incredibly passionate about what they're doing. I give them 2 thumbs up. I'm really excited to see what the future holds for them. But aside from that, I loved using this mouse. I love the way that it performed. And again, I'm really excited that they were the first people to take the step and try and put out a pro grade egg-shaped wireless mouse. Okay, and then next up, when it comes to the Finalmouse Starlight series, I really love these mice so much. I really do. Obviously, they were kind of built with all kinds of quality issues. When I first got these mice, something just always felt off about it. I got the first batch, and it turns out later, after they released the firmware updates, that I'm pretty sure that I was having all types of wireless connectivity issues, something with the connection or the sensor. I'm not sure what it was. Now, I do want to let you guys know it has all been fixed since then. And I did main the Finalmouse Starlight-12 small for a long time. But, until it took them a while to get those updates, those firmware updates out, I just kind of found myself struggling with these mice and just not hitting the type of shots that gave me the confidence with hitting. So with keeping all that in mind, these could absolutely be S tier as far as the weight, shape. the innovation. You know, I know a lot of people like to harp on Finalmouse, but again, I just love how they're always pushing the boundaries. They're always trying things that are new. They're now responsible for all these other companies, Ponage, Razer, you know, trying to actually innovate and be like them and use these metal types of mice. So really cool stuff that they're always pushing the envelope and trying things out that are new. Again, I kind of do feel like I should put these in the S tier class. This the fact that so many people are having inconsistencies with the build quality on these mice due to the magnesium. I guess I'll go ahead and I'll just put them down at the top of the A tier. All right, and then next up, when it comes to the G-Wolves HSK Plus, when I first got this mouse, I really enjoyed it. Ever since the release of the HSK Pro, I feel like the HSK Pro is just such a better mouse. This thing weighs around 40 grams and it's incredibly small. When it came out, there was not really too much to compare to it other than the Finalmouse mice. But now that they have the HTX out, I do truly love this mouse and it works great. I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna put it in the B tier. All right, so the G-Wolves HSK Pro in 4K. You know, the fact that this mouse came out with 4K, the fact that it's one of the lightest mouse that you can buy, one of the smallest wireless mice that you can buy. For me personally, I have such a long experience with being just a fingertip grip only user. As a matter of fact, before I got into first person shooters, I used to play StarCraft Brood War, StarCraft 2, just using just a pure fingertip grip. There's nothing like it out there that has the side buttons, that has a scroll wheel, that's wireless with the 4K. So like I said, love this mouse. It is an incredibly niche mouse. It is going to be hard for, I would say, most people out there to get used to or adapt to. But if it's something you're up for, something you can manage, it is absolutely worth checking out. Okay, the next up, we have the G-Wolves HTS Plus. The Classic Edition, I'm gonna go ahead and drop it down in the A tier. 3370 sensor. I love the shape of this. It's kind of like a GPRO Superlight Mini. I mean, not really, it doesn't have the rear hump. It has more of the top mid hump that the GPRO Superlight has. For me personally, I actually mained this mouse for a while, the 3370 sensor version. I remember when it first came out, I was really excited about the lightweight of it, the fact that it had a solid shell. I believe around the time that it released, it was the lightest mouse with a solid shell and in a smaller form factor. So I just absolutely love this mouse. When I got it, performed perfectly. And the only reason that I'm actually going to drop it down in the A tier is because the HTS Plus in the 4K. I don't know what it is about this mouse. This mouse just feels great. It performs flawlessly. When G-Wolves first released this HTS Plus to 4K, it kind of had some wireless issues. It turned out that they were able to fix the firmware and they adjusted it and they got it working just right. It works perfectly for me now. I don't have any issues with it. It's definitely one of the top performing mice out there. I'm gonna put up there some of my top recommendations. I love the performance of it. It plays great for me. And honestly, it's about as good as it gets as far as weight goes, balance, and the connectivity of the wireless with the latency. All right, and next up we have the G-Wolves HTS. The G-Wolves HTS could be A tier for me. I'm gonna go and drop it down. We'll drop it down to B tier. The reason I'm dropping the HTS down is I feel like G-Wolves has kind of forgot about this mouse. I mean, it pretty much seems at this point like they just replaced it with HTS Plus. I love the shape, I love the weight. This mouse performed great for me. Now that they're making the HTS Plus with the 4K, with the better sensors, I just overall feel more confident in the HTS Plus than I do with just the original G-Wolves HTS. Plus the HTS Plus is a lot lighter than the HTS is. All right, and for those of you that watch my channel, the GOAT, the G-Wolves HTX 4K, I'm such a fan of this mouse. This mouse just works out for me. It's kind of a mix-up, in my opinion, between a Model O- and a Razer Viper Mini. So I feel like you get the best of both worlds. It is about one of the lightest wireless gaming mouse out there for its size. And overall, it's just a solid contender for me. This mouse is about as good as it gets right now. All right, so next up we have the glorious Model O-. And I hate to do it, but I just feel like this mouse is just really outdated. I feel like for the size of the mouse, it just feels very heavy. During its time, it was good, but I just feel like so many things have come out, in my opinion, that are just so much better than it and perform so much better than it. So I'm just gonna go ahead and drop it down in the D tier list. All right, and then next up, we have the glorious Model O Pro. And I did notice here that I accidentally did leave out the Series 1 Pro, but that's okay because I'm just gonna go ahead and I'm just gonna bunch these together because they pretty much perform pretty similar anyways. And as far as I can tell, they are the exact same mouse. The only difference is one is a different shape than the other. And of course, since the Series 1 Pro is a little bit smaller, it is a little bit lighter as well. But I will go ahead and move this over here in the A tier. Both my Series 1 Pro and my Model O Pro, They both feel great. I didn't have any quality or build issues with them. My Model Pro kind of had this issue where I was pressing down on it, it was making a popping noise, but I do believe that that is just an issue where the shell wasn't tensioned to the base properly. But aside from that, it was nothing that I ever noticed in game. I feel like they're really great mice. I feel confident recommending them. And I am really happy that Glorious put them out. I do kind of wish that they would have tried to add some better tech into the mice, but I am glad that they exist, and I am happy that I purchased them when I was using them. I honestly feel like they felt great. I feel like the balance was good on them, and they perform well for me in all the games that I played. All right, so next up, we have probably my favorite mice right now, the Lamzu Atlantis and the Lamzu Atlantis Mini 4K. For those of you that watch my videos know that this mouse is as goated as it gets. I think the shape on the Mini is just about perfect for me and my gameplay. The Lamzu Atlantis OG is one of the most comfortable mice. I love using it. As far as the shape of these mice, the feeling of the mice, the clicks of the mice, I just don't really think that mice get much better than this in terms of feeling, usability. I just absolutely love these mice. I couldn't say enough good things about them. And as we all know, Lamzu is about to unleash a ton of bangers, 4K versions of these mice. We're going to be seeing new shapes. The Maya looks so promising. I'm super excited even to check out the Thorn. So I'm really excited to see what the future holds for Lamzu. All right, so next up we have the Logitech G303 Shroud. And though this is a great mouse, though this mouse performs S-tier quality, Logitech has always made top-tier gaming mice. For me personally, I'm going to have to go and throw the Logitech G303 Shroud down to the B tier. As much as I like this mouse, it was just kind of a miss for me. Honestly, I wasn't necessarily a huge fan of the G303 myself personally, but I did feel like the one thing I did have going for it was the incredibly small size of it. And the fact that this mouse was made, Shroud made it a little bit bigger. You know, it's not that big of a deal, but honestly, I just kind of prefer the original G303 over this Shroud edition. The mouse is a little bit heavier by today's standards. The scroll wheel on it, on my copy, it just feels really rubbery. Even when you're just scrolling the scroll wheel, it kind of gives you this weird like bouncing around effect. So even though this is a great performing mouse, and I don't really have anything too bad to say about it, honestly, the mouse just isn't for me personally. So that's why I'm going to go and drop down the B tier. I use this mouse quite a bit. I tried so hard to get used to it. You know, again, it does perform great. I tried using this mouse time and time again, and I could just never get it to be one of my favorites, unfortunately. All right, and next up we have the GPRO Superlight. I feel like this is going to be the most controversial mouse out of all of these. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to drop this down to the A tier. Now, before you guys try and destroy me down in the comments, yes, I know this is the most popular gaming mouse out there. Yes, I know that almost every pro out there is using this mouse. Why am I not putting this mouse higher up on the tier list? For me personally, I felt like it's a little too big for my hand size, but that's not the real issue. Even though I got used to it, when this mouse works like it's supposed to, it works perfectly. However, I find myself having a ton of issues with my copy. I'm not sure if I just have a bad copy. I have a lot of sensor issues. Every time I try and put this mouse on a colored mouse pad, especially I was testing this mouse out a lot recently using the new Artisan in the dye orange colorway, and I just was always having lift-off distance issues with it. Now, that wouldn't have necessarily been so much of an issue for me if you can actually adjust the lift-off distance on this mouse. But I would say that the number one reason that this mouse is really being held back, in my opinion, is the G-Hub software. I've seen people endlessly complain about the G-Hub software. I've even seen Shroud on his stream complain about it several times. And though I know that there might be other workarounds out there, other older softwares you can use, stuff like that. You know, to me personally, I don't want to rant too much, but I kind of just feel like Logitech has kind of lost their passion for gaming mice compared to what they used to be. And that's coming from somebody you have to understand. I've been around for a long time. Logitech used to be just killing it, man. They're always trying to be innovative. They came out with the Logitech G9 where you can change the shell on it to try and adjust the shape of it. They were always coming out with the G703, I believe the G903. I mean, they were just always just spitting out new different types of mice, different shapes. And, you know, they just kind of been stagnant the past few years. I do know that they are working on a brand new version of the GPRO Superlight. People are saying it's going to be around 50 grams, have 8K. And that's cool, but, you know, I just feel like they're really missing the mark with coming out with, you know, a G305 Pro, a G703 Pro. I just feel like there's so much more they could be doing, making their software better, making this mouse easier to use. The custom profiles on the mouse I just have issues with. Every time I hook this mouse on my computer, I always have to reopen G-Hub just to get my mouse to go up to 3200 DPI. I'm just always having issues with it. So with that being said, I'll stop ranting about it now. I'll just shut up. But again, that's the reason why I dropped down the A tier. And just to be clear, when you are using this mouse, you got it configured properly it's working great for you, it really doesn't get any better than this mouse. It truly doesn't. So again, just with my personal experience, that's why I have to go ahead and vote it down. Okay, and next up we got the Ninjutso Sora, and let's just throw this up here. I love this mouse so much. You know, this mouse coming in around 45 grams. I love the shape. I love the weight. The balance on it is just absolutely incredible. If Ninjutso comes out with a 4K version of this mouse, I'm probably going to be one of the first people standing in line waiting to pick up a copy of this mouse. I love it that much. And again, this is absolutely just one of my top recommendations. Every time I pick up this mouse, I'm always blown away by how great it feels to me. Next up, we're going to come over to the Pulsar X2 and the Pulsar X2 Mini. I truly do love these mice. I love the shape. I love the click feeling of them. They're pretty much near perfect. Again, I can't wait for the 4K versions. I just really don't know what else to say about them. These mice are so great. I perform so well with the Pulsar X2 Mini. It's one of my favorite gaming mice to use. And I can't even begin to tell you guys how excited I am for the 4K versions of these mice. And next up, when it comes to the Pulsar Xlite V2 and the V2 Mini, these mice are honestly great. I just feel like with the design, you know, Pulsar is coming out with the V3. I'm really excited to check it out. I love the shell design on this mouse, and I truly don't have any complaints about it. I do feel like the clicks on my copies are just kind of hard to push in. They're a little heavier due to the fact that it's all the same shell. But again, I don't really have anything bad to say about these mice, especially with how cheap they are. These can very well be higher up on the list. I just personally am not much of an ergo user. They're just not really my style, and I am excited to check out the Xlite V3 and check out the improvements on those ones. For the Pulsfire Haste, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to drop the Pulsfire Haste in the C category. I love the shape of this mouse. I think it's great. I had a couple issues with my copy. Honestly, when I first got out of the box, it performed incredibly, but just kind of over time, it just kind of, the click started getting kind of muddier. When I actuate the side buttons on my mouse, it's really weird. It actually flexes and pushes the base of the mouse away from the top of the shell. So, I mean, you can't really expect much from, you know, a mouse being this cheap. And honestly, for the price point, I think it's phenomenal. That's actually why I put it on this list. I've used this mouse a lot, and I know that they have a newer version out. I haven't really got around to checking it out. I do kind of feel like $80 in the price point with the mouse. It's just a little too high for me to interest me enough in picking it up, considering the fact that this version is so great of this mouse. And I know that they put a better sensor in the new version, but to be completely honest with you guys, I didn't really have that many issues with this sensor. And I was kind of hoping that they're going to push out for like a 4K version. So with that being said, I'm going to go and throw that in the C category. Again, great mouse, but I definitely wouldn't say that it's the best one out there. When it comes to the Razer Death Adder V3 Pro in the Faker edition, this mouse just feels absolutely phenomenal. I don't know where I'd put this mouse because I'll be real with you guys. This mouse is as good as it gets for me. I love this mouse. The clicks, the build quality. There's one issue that I have on my mouse. It's just a little bit of side flex. You know, if you push really hard on the side of the mouse, it does activate the side buttons. I've never had that being an issue for me in game. I truly love this mouse so much. I love the way it feels. I love the clicks. In my opinion, right now, there's not an ergo mouse that comes close to this. The Viper V2 Pro as well, it comes right up here. I do like the Death Adder V3 Pro more. I just like the way the scroll wheel feels on the Death Adder V3 Pro. For whatever reason, the clicks just feel a little bit better to me on the implementation of the Death Adder V3 Pro. But when it comes to the performance on these mice, they're absolutely phenomenal. So next up, we have the Razer Orochi V2. And, you know, I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to throw this up here with the Viper Mini. You know, I think for the Orochi, I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to drop this in the A tier. I love the Orochi. This is a great mouse to get to mod. It's very cheap. I feel like the quality that this mouse comes in is phenomenal. I hate to sound too picky, but I don't like how you have to constantly replace the battery in it. Again, I know that I can mod it to change that. It's just never really been worth it to me. I feel like this is a great mouse. I love the way it performs. And at the price point, I would say I have to put it up there. All right, next up, I'm going to throw up the Razer Viper Mini. And a lot of people are probably going to be upset about this, but I'm going to drop it in the B tier. The reason I'm dropping this in the B tier is, trust me, this mouse performs phenomenally. Honestly, for the price of this mouse, if you can still pick it up around $30, I'm not sure if you really can or not. It was recently sold out for a while there. It really doesn't get better than this as far as performance, cost, the size and shape of this mouse. I would definitely say it's one of my top recommendations out there if you're just getting a gaming mice. However, the reason that I'm going to put this in B tier, I felt like it's kind of out of date at this point. Every time I've bought a copy of this mouse, the shell is really flexible. It's really easy to actuate the side buttons. So the fact that it has that lift off distance issue still in this day and age, with all these incredible mice that have come out, and there's a ton of new mice coming on the horizon that are incredibly cheap, I'm gonna go ahead and have to drop this down, rank it down. Again, nothing personal. I just feel like it's time for us to move on from the Razer Viper Mini. And Razer, you need to get updated versions of this mouse out ASAP. Okay, so next up, let's go ahead and jump into the Vaxee XE wireless. As much as I was swinging for this mouse, as much as I wanted to love this mouse, I really gave this mouse my all. I do want to say that the wireless performance on this mouse, the way that it performs, is absolutely S tier. It's as good as it gets. I love how they have the competitive mode. However, with my copy, I ran into a bunch of issues with them. They didn't make things easy for me. I actually wanted to exchange this mouse. I had grinding. The shell was super flexible. The left and right clicks on it just felt really loose and just plasticky. And I would truly have to say that with my experience, that the Vaxee XE wireless has been, in fact, the exact opposite of what everybody has been praising this mouse to be over all these years, saying it has some of the best build quality out there. For the weight of this mouse, the way that this mouse came in the box to me, and just to be clear with you guys, I'm an incredibly easygoing person. I have a lot of patience. I understand that you can get any one of these mice on this list and have issues with. Not every single copy is going to come out perfect. I tried working on getting this replaced. You know, there's some back and forth. They asked me to send them a list of the issues. After I sent them the list of the issues, they kind of acted like they didn't believe me, and they asked me to upload a video for them. And after that point, I just kind of turned off by it all, and I decided just to hold on to it, just to take pictures of it and stuff like that. So it is really unfortunate. I know a lot of people that praise this mouse, use this mouse as their main. It's just that this mouse fell so short for me, and it just put such a bad taste in my mouth. I honestly can't put it higher on the tier list, unfortunately. All right, and then last but not least, definitely another controversial one. A lot of people are really stoked about this mouse, and I've seen a lot of bad reviews about it. But fortunately for me, I got incredibly lucky. The build quality on my Razer Viper Mini Signature Edition has been almost perfect. And by perfect, I mean no real major apparent issues. This mouse has loosened up on me a lot over time. When I first got it, it was a lot tighter. The scroll wheel has loosened up, but again, I can't really get over that metal scroll wheel. But you know, when it comes to the performance, being the first 8K wireless mouse out there, the connectivity of this mouse, it really is just second to nothing that's on the market right now. This is the #1 wireless mouse when it comes to tech, when it comes to latency, when it comes to the connectivity. The performance of it is awesome. And though as good as it is, you know, I'm not hitting my records in aim labs or anything with this mouse, but I still love gaming with it. I love playing Apex Legends with it. It feels lighter than 49 grams to me, and overall, it's just one of my favorite top mice right now. All right, guys, so here is my final list right here of my current top mice. Let me know down in the comments if you agree with any of these, if you disagree. Hopefully you guys have had better experiences than I have with some of these mice, but you know, that's just kind of the lottery when it comes to the mouse game. You know, I know there's a lot of people out there that some of my favorite mice, some of my top mice that are top my list, they've gotten these mice and they've had issues with them. It's just the unfortunate draw of the pick sometimes. But anyways, I hope you guys liked this video. As you can clearly see here, I know there's a lot more mice in the S tier as in the bad tier. But again, I try to pick mice that I do really like, that I do feel are top tier mice, and that I'd actually use, and stuff that I know that a lot of people out there are using and are popular on the market. So I hope you guys have enjoyed this video. Please let me know down in the comments below if you have any questions. And if you are interested in seeing more videos like this in the future, please subscribe to my channel. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video.